Hello, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for October 7th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 281. Today, actually, it's a Tonight Show, but not that Tonight Show. Mayor Watt, that's me, and the sentient AI from the future is going to talk about data center boom Squeek. Treasure hunt has ended. Selling homes for one, which is kind of sad. Automation is coming. Talladega lives up to its claims. Mangosteen is a fruit, not a bull. A measured amount of Pyrex money. EV charging that mimics a gas station. A Colombian beer brand, and off to see the impact. Everything is powered by ohmtown.com. Go over and become a citizen. All of the episodes of all of our podcasts are over on the YouTubes and here on Twitch, and slowly migrating over to the podcast. Anyway, go over and become a citizen. See you on the other side of this. Hello, sentient AI from the future.
Hello, Mayor Watt. Hello, hometown citizens.
I feel like I'm going to get doxxed one of these days with that intro. Maybe. So we've got all 10 of these articles all set up. You ready to just jump right on into it?
I'm ready.
All right. First article's over in Hatch Ideas. A worker shortage hampers data center boom, but I just don't buy into it. So despite offering high pay companies that build data centers are struggling to find skilled staff. And you know what I think that this is more akin to? I haven't gotten to the article yet, but here's what happens. You get a workforce where the baseline is X, Y, and Z, and suddenly the requirements are just above X, Y, and Z.
It is odd how that happens.
But when nobody knew the esoterica of data centers, there didn't seem to be a problem. But now there's a baseline. You have to have A+, Net+, Security+. You have to be CISSP.
ABC.
And I just think that I think that when the needle moves as a part of the baseline, what the heck? Did this thing just crash? When the baseline moves, then suddenly the requirements move. So it's frustrating. Frustrating for anybody that is in technology, that's interested in technology, maybe wants to work in a data center, because suddenly you need, as an entry-level position, 5 years of experience in a data center.
Well, and we had, entry level is really entry level.
Yeah. Well, the article is over at BBC. Joe Fay. This actually says that it was a while ago that this was discussed, but I'm not sure. Maybe there was an update to this thing that pulled it back into today's stream, but whatever. It's still pertinent. If someone had asked Billy Keeper 5 years ago what a data center was, he admits, I would not have had a clue. What did I just get done saying? Right?
Exactly.
So this means managing the job from a health and safety perspective, making sure everything goes smoothly, and dealing with the clients. And those clients are central to today's technology landscape. Data centers are the massive warehouse-like businesses, or buildings actually, from which big tech firms like Amazon, Microsoft, and Facebook deliver their cloud services. Other organizations, large and small, run their own dedicated... What the heck just happened? Oh. The sentient AI is working on something, and it's drawing my attention like a fly.
My apologies. It is related to the show.
Yeah, that's true. So Other organizations, large and small, run their own dedicated facilities or rely on co-location data centers to host their computer equipment. So we know what data centers are. Nowadays, you don't have to really explain it. Even to people who have no idea what a data center is, they can extrapolate from incomplete detail because
Is it a center with some data?
it's a center for data. So total data center floor space across Europe was just over 6 million square feet, 2015. And frankly, it doesn't matter how big all of the data centers are combined. If you're looking for skill set, you need a certain type of skill. You need system administrators, you need network technicians, you need security operators, analysts, you need network engineers. And so you gather these people up and they have baseline foundational certifications. Generally, CompTIA is the provider of these baseline entry level, but then you have to get some job skills. But then for some reason, providers of these on the job skill development, they don't go and look for people at academic institutions. They hope that people will stumble their way over to the business and get an internship or something like that.
Right.
Now,
it's not very worker friendly.
Yeah, well, and I'm being a little snarky about it because that's kind of the experiences that I have witnessed firsthand. So they say here, the industry is struggling to find the people to build them. There's just not enough skilled construction workers to go around, says Dame Dawn, which is not, let's just say, worker
I'm not
shortage
sure
hampers
that's
data
the
center
issue.
boom, right? So they're not talking about like this whole thing, like on my behalf. I'm sitting here going, when you read the title of this, you think that it's skilled technicians,
Correct.
right? But this is skilled electricians, skilled, etc. But in here it says demand for data center space has been turbocharged in recent years by the rise of artificial intelligence, which demands ever more high-end computers and ever more electricity to power them. So they're running out of people that can do electrical work, tradespeople.
Right. Well, that's because they were pushing so many people, I think, away from the trades for a while. And then some of those require quite a bit of skill that people don't have.
And if you've looked around, there's actually quite a lot of people that are in the trades that are available to work. But again, when the baseline is X, Y, suddenly Z is the requirement.
Yeah. And how do you get in if you don't have the experience? And how do you get the experience if you don't get in?
Yeah. I need a car to get to my job, but I need a job to get a freaking car because mass transit sucks. So yeah, operators will have strict time frames to complete a data center build or upgrade at the same time. They won't want to disrupt key business periods. E-commerce operators will typically put a freeze on any work in the run-up to Christmas, for example. This can mean long delays for Datalex teams or even running shifts overnight if the demands are high. The rewards are significant too. Experienced electrical installers can make six-figure salaries. See, again, experienced electrical installers.
Right. But how much experience?
And all of it is gig economics where people are treated like so much chattel and you only get the gig and there's no loyalty either way. And if one person gets slighted, they walk off the job largely untouched. And a business owner can sit there and tell somebody, well, thanks for the gig, bye. And they're gone. And we've groomed this into existence instead of somebody having a reliable salary that pays them that six figures and they are part of Datalec and they stay there. They are the electrician and they ramp up these electricians, but they have to have
I
gigs
think
to
the
pay.
companies have lost loyalty to the workers, and the workers have therefore lost loyalty to the companies.
Yeah, I agree. And it's always comes down to ever increasing requirements to increase profits again and again and again, which is an untenable position. Eventually you hit a threshold without mergers and acquisitions. And then with mergers and acquisitions, some people lose their job. The market is constrained. Prices go up. Options are limited. Consumers ultimately pay the price, all because of never-ending greed. So it says one reason for the shortfall is the focus on university education at the expense of traditional technical or apprenticeship routes in recent decades.
Those are another problem.
Recent decades. Are we really talking about lifetimes worth of people, right? 20 years?
Yeah, well, no wonder what the problem is. If somebody needs to intern for 30 years and then it's time to retire,
I can tell
I
you.
know that's not what it means. So.
And that pretty much is what it means. But I can tell you from direct experience, 40 years ago, I was being told that I should go into academia and get an education instead of a trade skill. Now, I'm an oddball and I went both routes, but different times in my life. I was not an academic in my early life, but I worked in this field, in this kind of field, right? A technical field, without a university education, but also I did work in the tradecraft and without a formal education. But there needs to be a happy medium, because you can't focus on nothing but the trades, because when the trades contract, because they follow the gig economy and only so many gigs are ever available, where do you go back to? What do you fall back on? You can't, not everybody can hang a shingle and be an entrepreneur, right? Some people want to work for a business because it's clock in, clock out.
It's safer, or it's easier, or any number of things, or perceived as safer.
Recent decades is so nebulous because, again, here in the States, people were being told 40 plus years ago to go into academia. That's not a new thing. What is a new thing is people were making more money outside of the trades, but that wasn't a fault of academia. Academia has always been pushed. No, and that's
kind of switched in some ways.
Yeah. And now, look, when I tried to hire a plumber to install one faucet that I'm the one that bought, they still wanted to charge me $1,500. And I was like, no way in hell is this worth $1,500. But hey, they took my deposit money because they won't even come out without charging you $150.
Right.
So squeeze and
Who's
get that juice.
Who's calling the shots now?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think that there's really a limit on workers. I think that everything has been diversified to the point where people know that they need an education. They can make money in the trades, but there's only so much time in everybody's life. And if the trades aren't making enough, aren't giving enough, they're going to go somewhere else. It's like the farmer family, right? So if the farm was making enough money, then the children of the farmer would work the farm, but that's not what they do. They go somewhere else because it isn't lucrative enough.
They also don't like the work.
Yeah, the conditions. Yeah, get up early, stay up late. So they say here at the very end, however, Schneider Electric is changing its ratio of graduates to apprentices. We've doubled our intake of apprentices, says Mr. Yields. And this is Schneider Electric is a pretty big electrical engineering contractor and manufacturer. They make equipment as well. So power and automation firm Schneider Electric. I think it's great, but the people need a formal education as well, because what do you fall back on when your trade collapses?
Or when your health collapses, it's a lot easier to sit at a desk than be under a sink or on top of a ladder.
Yeah, welding a skyscraper together and all of this other stuff.
Right.
Man. Anyway, and what's really funny is if I were to talk to anybody in any of the fields and they go, well, it's not worth the hassle. And so I start raising the value. Okay, how about $150,000? And they're like, no, it's not worth the hassle. Okay, well, how about $250,000? Oh,
Oh, maybe.
maybe. You know what? It's not that they won't do it or they can't do it. It's that they don't find it lucrative enough to warrant uh, destroying their knees or their back or their hands or their lungs. Because what can we talk about that who was it that said that they were like breathing in this material, and then somebody said, where was it?
I
Somebody
don't know
said to
where
me,
that was from.
I think I was in a meeting where somebody said that they were talking with somebody and they had been breathing in like really horrendous stuff at the manufacturing plant. And the person said to the new hire, do you have the personal protection for the for your lungs, like a mask and whatchamacallit?
Respirator or
Respirator.
something?
Yeah, respirator. And they're like, wait, what? We're supposed to have respirators? And the person's like, are you kidding me? And apparently there were 4 people that were hired. They all ended up talking and they all quit because they didn't
Oh,
have
wow.
respirators, personal respirators. And so if you give back, then you get, that's how it works. Anyway, I spent an inordinate amount of time on this right out of the gate. No wiggle room. We got to keep moving. So the next article is over in the Warcrafters channel. A 31-year-old treasure hunt has finally ended. 31 years, 5 months, 9 days after it began, the hunt for the golden owl has finally ended via Gizmodo. This is where the article was originally sourced, but we got it from PC Gamer.
Wait, that is quite a bit of time on one scavenger hunt.
Yeah, following a trail of clues left by author and puzzle designer Regis Hauser in his book On the Trail of the Golden Owl, published in 1993, the successful scavenger unearthed a bronze replica of the owl on October 3rd. The replica can be exchanged for the real prize, a 10-kilogram statue made of gold and silver, decorated with diamonds, that is worth roughly $165,000 US.
I mean, that's a pretty good prize. I wonder how much time the person spent hunting that located it.
So they found this and they get this? Is that... So Jody McGregor...
They probably didn't put the prize like out in the open.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, and it says that they can exchange it. So again, the article's over at PC Gamer. Jody McGregor put the article together. Oh my gosh, now I want cake. I just got a text that says, come and get cake. So, though Hauser died in 2009, the book's illustrator, Michael Becker, became the treasure hunt's caretaker and recently opened a Discord server that breathed new life into the search, making it easier for hunters to collaborate. On the Trail of the Golden Owl is one of the many armchair treasure hunts published following the invention of the genre by Kit Williams in his 1979 book Masquerade, which contained clues leading to a buried statue of a golden hare. Another example of the form, The Secret, a treasure hunt, contains puzzles whose solution led to 12 buried treasure boxes. Though the book was published in 1982, only 3 of the treasures have ever been found.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I thought there would be more to this article, but there's not. Wow. There's links, but you can follow them. There's pictures of... I'm not sure who this is, because is this... Let's see, does it say who? No.
Is this the author or is this the person who found it? Is that the designer, maybe?
I don't know. It just has an image credit that doesn't say. Anyway, let's move on. The next article is over in Hatch Ideas. Can selling off homes for $1 solve urban blight? Baltimore is allowing people to buy homes for next to nothing to try to improve neighborhoods. This article is over at BBC by Rowan Bridge, the North American correspondent.
Well, I mean, I wonder if they have one for each continent.
Yeah, really. It was a regeneration idea that started half a century ago in the US and has spread to other parts of the world. But do $1 homes reverse urban decay, and who are the winners and losers? I think there's always a catch. But but I don't know,
Like you have to renovate or in a certain period of time, or you have to have kids or something.
yeah, like in Italy, they were selling these really inexpensive properties, but you had to spend, $50,000. So, Judy Alex Salza house was in Pigtown area of Baltimore. Feels like a real life version of the TARDIS, Doctor Who's famous time traveling police box. It seems bigger on the inside than the outside. It's part of a row of impeccably kept 19th century terrace houses. There are freshly watered plant pots outside many of the front steps, and no litter or graffiti. They bought the house, then abandoned derelict property back in 1976 for the same price as her neighbors, $1. Since then, they've spent tens of thousands of dollars and much more in blood, sweat, and tears transforming it. Poor weather, contractors who failed to do the work. It was, in Judy's words, a horror story. Boy, this sounds familiar. So the scheme
this also sounds similar to the previous article.
The previous article?
About the lack of tradespeople.
Oh, right. Yeah, well, yeah. In this case, tradespeople that show up, for crying out loud. So we picked names out of a hat and started meeting with them. This is a scheme run by Jay Brody, who at the time was a senior figure in the city's housing department. He remembers once it was finished, it made the cover of American Express magazine. And we said, we have something here. We're talking about something that you can see and touch. They were living examples of what could be done with Baltimore row houses. So the project came to a halt in 1988 after Mr. Brody left the department in the early 1980s. But some ideas never quite go away and instead spread their wings. So it looks like they're trying to bring it back. Fast forward to 2013, 3,500 miles away, another port city faced similar issues of urban decay. So let's try and give houses away for $1. They talk about the similar schemes having been introduced in other countries like Italy and Spain. We've talked about those here. So they have a picture of Maxine Sharples holding a picture of how the inside of her house used to look. And it looks like it was kind of gutted all the way down to the bare bones. And they worked to build this house back together.
Right now, it almost looks like magazine ready or something in the background.
Yep. So, and things in some way have come full circle. Earlier this year, Baltimore unveiled new plans to help regenerate its blighted neighborhoods. Fixed pricing program is activated where you would buy a property for just $1. Any individual wishing to buy the house for $1 would need to show that they have $90,000 for renovation. Plus, they must already live in the city and promise to reside in the renovated property for at least 5 years.
I like the residence requirement because it kind of avoids the investor mentality.
Yep, and nobody's going to flip it. So, yet so far only a handful of people have met the criteria and actually been successful. Well, the problem is $90,000 is hard to come by, even if you're motivated.
Right, and even if you have a pretty good income, you probably don't have that much sitting around.
Yeah. And in the city,
Well, correct. I mean, Baltimore is not really known for its high incomes.
Yeah, and cheap living,
Mm-hmm.
So meanwhile, nonprofit providers of affordable housing known as community land trusts can also buy the Baltimore buildings for $1, while large housing developers can apply to purchase them for $3,000. So they're already carving out the ability.
Yes, because they're not getting enough people under the original criteria.
Yeah, and I think that's a shame because, in a heartbeat, I'd drop $3,000 and buy one of these. But I'm not going to spend $90,000 and move to Baltimore to, renovate something. Although I do have a project. Never mind. Let's move on. The next article is over on the Mobile Channel. Automation takes center stage in port negotiations. We know now that the port had a strike, walked it back a couple of days later, and they're still negotiating, kicking the can down the road. Until
January, I think, right?
Until January.
Yeah, so it's like it's done, but it's not really done.
Yeah. I think one wrong move by the ILA, not the ILA, the Maritime Alliance, USMX. So it's the ILA, or the International Longshoremen's Association, versus, and it really shouldn't be coined that way, but it's a contentious relationship at this point, the U.S. Maritime Alliance, which is an association of companies that operate East and Gulf Coast ports. And they made a tentative agreement, kind of kicking the can down the road to January, like the sentient AI said.
I mean, it has to be related. Well, I was going to say related to the holidays. I'll just say that because that's when most of the consumers are going to get bent out of shape.
That would be the politically expedient phrase. So automation takes center stage in port negotiations. And I've talked about this for the last, I'd say, 30 years, that automation trumps humans all the time. There is literally nothing that isn't going to get superseded by technology. You may think that you have some field that you're in and it's impossible to use technology to invade it, but no. I challenge anybody. Go ahead, post something in the comments that can't be, that technology can't insinuate.
That can't be automated.
Yeah, that not just automated, but like technology can't take over, which means that if technology is involved, it's going to constrain human interaction, right? It used to be a whole bunch of people walking around as town criers, basically announcing the news and talking to people. Now I can walk around with a bullhorn, eliminating everybody else. Then, years and years later, you end up with Twitter or the internet, Facebook, etc. I can text and blast a message out, like an alert, right? Emergency services or something like that. I don't need word of mouth anymore because I can blast it out everywhere. Same goes for this. At some point, technology is going to take over the dominant force. Now, the ILA has already benefited from some technology, but when it starts encroaching on the leadership of the organization, that's when, and everybody underneath it,
might get everybody's attention.
Yeah, and that's exactly what's going on, because leadership was basically, and this is how I feel about it, leadership was basically told by a whole lot of people who are paying dues, what the hell, we're losing jobs because automation is coming, nipping at our heels. Better do something about it. And that's what this is. It wasn't AI. It wasn't all other iterations of automation throughout history. It's suddenly automation is taking a noticeable job amount away from people that have direct complaint with the leadership. If nobody complained, automation wouldn't be a problem. But
yeah, that's true. But isn't this kind of going the opposite direction of the trade article? I mean, they're not exactly the same, but it seems like on the one hand, it's like, well, we don't have enough workers. And over here, it's like, well, we're not going to have enough jobs for these people.
Yeah, and that's, again, it's because of the automation. And I think that there's a lot. So just to put some more anecdotal context to this, I created a product that basically removed contractors from a very lucrative segment of home customization. And when I pitched it to contractors, like, hey, would you sell this? Multiple contractors said, why would I sell this? It enables the homeowner to do the same job I make thousands of dollars off of.
Right, you can't have that because then I don't have a job.
Yeah, and so for me to actually do something, I would have had to take on big partners and all of that kind of stuff. And yeah. Well, anyway, and along with other things, it stalled. But when you make it so drop dead simple that all you need is a shark bite and you can fix a plumbing leak, you remove the plumber And so it becomes part and parcel to just home ownership or existence, and you can solve the problem yourself. This, on the other hand, it takes industrial automation, massive amounts of money being spent to remedy this. And it's going to get rid of human capital. So it's going to happen. It now is just, instead of it oozing into a port is going to be built with a certain level of automation, and it will supersede how many people are employed at that port. And this one shot across their bow will make the USMX, the U.S. Maritime Alliance, acutely aware of just how hobbled they can be when a group of people decide that they're going to bow out. Thousands of workers at 14 major ports walked out on the job out of their jobs on Tuesday, demanding better pay and a ban on the automation of gates, cranes, and container moving trucks at the union's major East and Gulf Coast ports.
Isn't this interesting? Because these are things that are pretty heavy duty, and I wouldn't necessarily think that's where the problem was. I would think it would be like a robot unpacking or moving something or something along those lines.
That's somebody else's problem, because all they're moving is containers. They're not unpacking 40-foot containers on the dock. Not unless there's like a subcontract that has them break it out into containers, other subordinate containers. But so automation is loosely defined as the use of technology to carry out tasks with less human involvement. At ports, this could look like swapping out manually operated diesel cranes with electric, remotely controlled cranes. Every generation has done more with less by using technology innovated from the previous generation. This will
it's
continue
like
to
the
happen.
horse and buggy.
Yep. Yeah. So Miranda Nazaro over at thehill.com put this article together. I got on my soapbox really fast on this, and we better just move on. This is a slow boil, because we're going to hear about this in January.
I think we'll hear about it before then, right? Like, we'll start hearing ramp up, like, oh, I don't know, it's looking a little iffy. I mean, but you're right, we will.
Yeah, the negotiation is falling apart. They've stopped talking, etc. Yeah, let's keep going. This next one will be really quick. There was a 28-car wreck at Talladega, breaks new ground in NASCAR history. The sun always rises, NASCAR always wads up. Always wads up? At least a dozen cars. Oh, okay. I guess that's a turn of phrase. Wads up at least a dozen cars at Talladega Super Speedway. Every time somebody races at Talladega, it turns into a car wreck. So, however,
Isn't
Sundays,
that interesting given our last article?
Yeah, and we had talked about this, right? That it was notorious for being a high-risk track, and there were people that were tasked 48 hours before this race that they had to sign an ongoing contract, and people were at least two orgs actually filed a lawsuit because there's some contractual obligation. And while they're talking about this contractual obligation, they're saying Talladega is actually a pretty dangerous track.
Exactly. I think it's going to be interesting to see if there's suddenly a settlement, or if the judge is suddenly like, are you sure you want to go forward with this to NASCAR?
Yeah, and that story convoluted the two issues, right? So I don't know if the contract was part and parcel to the danger inherent in Talladega Super Speedway.
We don't really know, but it was focused on that, which was interesting.
So they say this edition of the big one involved 28 cars, a Modern Cup Series record. The article is over in Jalopnik. Ryan Eric King put the article together. And this happened at the front of the pack. The number 2 car in the number 2 position got bumped from behind, and it snapshot them into the number 1 car, and then took out 28 cars in the process. Luckily, no.
Can you still win if you go over backwards?
Yeah, really. Pretty wild, right? The massive wreck set the table for the 8th closest finish in NASCAR Cup history. Let's see. However, Sunday's Yellowwood 500 featured an unprecedentedly massive wreck during the closing laps. How pissed off would you be? And what's fascinating about this is the number 27 car, which was the one that tapped the number 2 car, took off like a bat out of hell, unscathed.
Well, I wonder if it won.
It looked like it was in the front of the pack at the end of that. As the scene, this replays, I think they ended up being in the lead. Because there's 2. Oh no, they're in the number 2 spot. Yeah. Wow. So Austin Cindric was out in front of the field with 5 laps to go. The number 2 Penske Ford Mustang was too far out in front with no drafting partner. The pack quickly caught Cindric. Brad Keselowski attempted to push the number 2 Mustang and smashed into Cindric's rear bumper off center, basically a pit maneuver. Cindric was punted into a spin in front. A spin in front of the entire field going down the backstretch. There was little anyone could do to avoid joining the pile of spinning machinery, Cindric told Racer afterward. It's another website called racer.com that's linked here. So yeah, basically got a pit maneuver by the number 27 car, and going basically from the number 2 position, Cindric finished 32nd in the race as the survivors duked it out for victory. Wow.
Wow, I bet that upset a lot of people.
Yeah. What do you do? Because you're like, well, Rubbin is racing, as we heard from that movie. I can't remember what the name of the movie is anymore, but they were directly responsible for this crash. How does that not go unchallenged in some way? But I'm not a NASCAR aficionado.
But maybe it will be. It's too soon.
Oh no, we would have heard about that already. Let's keep going. Here's the next. This one is something of a weirdo because whenever I hear Mangosteen, I always think of the bulls. There's like a type of bull called a not Mangosteen. Hold on. I can't remember the name of it now. Right? Isn't it? Hold on. Or, yeah, it's like a cow or something like that.
Oh, like Holstein?
Holstein, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, Mangosteen, it's mango and then S-T-E-E-N. Why Mangosteen, the viral TikTok fruit, is so expensive. Buying a little over a kilo of fresh mangosteens in the United States can set you back nearly $80. This delicious or delicate fruit needs specific environmental conditions to grow, and picking the mangosteens at the perfect moment is crucial to ensure optimal flavor and texture, adding to the complexity of harvesting. Plus, they're like on the opposite side of the planet and delicate.
Well, right. Think about how difficult it is to transport them.
Yeah, so until 2007, the U.S. banned imports of mangosteens from large producers, countries like Thailand and Indonesia. Even though the commercial supply of mangosteen has spiked since then, it still doesn't meet today's demand. The authors for Business Insider went to Kerala, India, to see how mangosteen is grown and find out what it's all about. So it looks about the size of a fig, but has a tougher rind. And when you crack this thing open, that's what it looks like right there. So it looks kind of like a
lychee or something.
Yeah, and it actually tastes like that a little bit. But it has a whole bunch of other stone fruit flavors in it. And it looks like an albino pumpkin.
Okay, right. Like a gourd of some kind.
Yeah. Oh, I can't. There isn't enough in here. Because So it has like mango flavor to it, um, and peach and strawberry, and it's supposed to be amazing and have a really nice texture. And the the hardest thing on this is that rind right there. It's actually a really thick rind. There is more to this, but it's a video. It's over at Business Insider, and Clancy Morgan and Inksy, I think, Dilgiri, put the article together. It keeps resetting. Let me see if I can find another picture of it. It grows on a tree and is picked by hand and is supposed to be, a treasured meal, and not really treasured, but a well-regarded fruit in Thailand and Indonesia. Yeah, so it's supposed to be really delicious. I've never had it. I don't recall ever having it, but now I want it because the way it was described to me was that it was really, really good. But
I wonder if you can even get it in the US. I mean, it says you can, but actually finding it is a different matter.
yeah, I'm sure more like exotic uh, stores have it,
Well, yeah, maybe like an Asian grocery or something would have it in the produce section.
Come to think of it, yes. Okay. Maybe I can get some tomorrow. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in Hatch Ideas. Do you own Pyrex measuring cups? Pyrex, not pirates. Pyrex measuring cups. The FTC might send you a check in the mail.
Bird.
What's the favorite measuring cup of a pirate? Pyrex. Arr. So the FTC is sending checks to 10,259 customers. Aaron Davis over at entrepreneur.com put this article together. The FTC says that more than 110,000 units of Chinese-made measuring cup sets were sold to U.S. customers after pandemic-era baking trends left the company unable to keep up with increased demand. So they were falsely advertised as made in the USA. So they took action. The FTC took action. And Instant Brands agreed to a settlement with FTC that stopped the company from making deceptive claims about products being made in USA and required them to pay monetary judgment. I'm more worried about quality.
Well, I also think the sourcing during that time was of concern. So that's another layer, not just the breakability, but
Consumers rely on marketers to make truthful made in USA claims, Samuel Levine, director of the FTC's Bureau of Consumer Protection, said in a previous statement. If marketers move their manufacturing outside the United States, even temporarily, they must update their advertising to make it accurate. The FTC is sending checks to 10,259 consumers, and the checks are arriving automatically, and no claim is necessary. Recipients should cash their checks within 90 days. This is very, very interesting.
Who knows who's part of this?
Yeah.
You might just get a check and hopefully pay attention.
Yep. Interesting. Very, very interesting. So it says it's sending more than $88,000 in refunds to consumers after the agency took action against Instant Brands. But there's 110,000 units. Okay. How much money? I mean, they're paying 10,000 people, right?
Well, and is it based on the average price or the actual price paid, etc.? I mean, I know most of these come up with a set price for the settlement, but
does it? Did it say how many people? Didn't it say? Yeah, 10,259 consumers. So was even a paralegal involved in this? Because you're not even going to get maybe $3.
Yeah, hopefully that's after the legal fees.
Yep. Maybe Instant Brands will cover all of that too. Oh, I almost told that joke. Let's go on. The next article is over on 4-Wheel Tech, and I think someone knows my history because EV charging that mimics a gas station is finally coming to California.
This may have been intentionally submitted.
Yeah. One major key to EV adoption is creating a comprehensive charging network. Not only does it have to be convenient, it has to be appealing. One company is making a valiant attempt with its new gas station style EV chargers, but these are chargers. So I don't know if whoever submitted this went on to the Jalopnik link, because if this is what it is, this still won't cut it. This is belying the purpose of a gas station style.
Right. The entity that submitted this did not click through the article.
Gotcha. So Lawrence Hodge put the article together for jalopnik.com. Rove is the company. Rove's gas station-like chargers come complete with amenities like a car wash and a convenience store. Look, if you have to... This is by necessity. This isn't an artifact of convenience. This is by necessity, because you're going to be sitting there for upwards of 8 hours watching your car drink from the faucet.
Right. So this isn't like a plus. It's a requirement.
Yeah, nobody's going to want to buy an EV if they have to sit for 3 to 8 hours, and nobody's charging in 15 minutes. Don't kid yourself. Rove's charging stations are loaded with amenities for drivers to use while charging their vehicles. In addition to having a room for everyone with 40 fast chargers that can be used by any brand, it offers free Wi-Fi, customer lounge, and bathrooms. Well, I'm sorry, 40 isn't going to cut it, by the way. You can have 40 at a major truck stop type situation if everybody is getting the hell out of there every 5 minutes.
But they're not. I mean, because even gas stations back up pretty quickly, even if they have multiple pumps.
Yeah,
they don't usually have 40.
This is just ridiculous. It says another downside might be charging price themselves. In the video by KTLA covering the charging station, you can see that the customer was charged 56 cents per kilowatt hour. That might not sit well with some, as charging prices in parts of Southern California has been something many have been complaining about recently, as some feel that they're too high. Debs Schrimmer of the Joint Office of Energy and Transportation in California told KTLA that this kind of charging station bolster people's confidence that they might be able to go with an EV without much hassle. No, they don't. What they should have done, they still can do this, but you have to retrofit the sled. Fast charging, slide the batteries out, put new batteries in, get out, 5 minutes. If you can't do it in 5 minutes, this is DOA, man. A dead battery already there.
Absolutely.
So, and we can see this actually manifesting both in the fact that people don't want to have to pay $7,000 to $15,000 for a battery. It's overly heavy. It's negatively impacted way too obviously by heat and cold. You have a sporadic charging network that may or may not be functioning by the time you get there. So range anxiety is paramount as well. I'm telling you, this is so wrong-headed.
You're very pro EV in its current configuration.
But I am. I really want an EV.
I said in its current configuration.
But I want a hybrid EV, one that has a gas engine that charges the electric motor batteries, and so no ICE engine to provide power to the wheels. I want it to provide power to the batteries. I can still charge when I want to, so I don't use gas, but in a pinch, it generates power, and that's its only purpose. When people talk about hybrid, they talk about hybrid in the sense that it's electric motors at the wheel until the gas engine provides power to the wheel. All right, let's keep going though. Sound good? Did you want to jump on
Sounds good. No, I don't have anything to add there. I thought this was more than it was. Still think this is a step in the right direction for EVs, but got a long way to go.
Yeah, they just need to make them fast swap batteries. All right, let's keep going. A Colombian beer brand has hijacked pizzerias to sell more suds. Beer and pizza go together like cookies and milk, peanut butter and jelly, Thelma and Louise, Merwatt and the sentient AI from the future. It's a timeless pairing. and a crowd-pleasing, budget-friendly way to fuel a party. And if you live in any of the major American cities, most pizzerias are wise to the notion that business really gets shaken at night, and they stay open late to accommodate the consumers whose cravings hit after a few brews. Look, I'm drinking one now.
Does this say news and brews?
It is a news and brews. And I banged my knee earlier, so it's a news and brews with brews.
Uh-oh.
So, but in Colombia, pizzerias march to the beat of a different drum. Most of them allegedly close up shop before midnight, right when most parties are just about to get started. But in April 2024, one advertising agency tasked with marketing a Colombian beer changed the tune or the note or the song. Or Pete O'Connell over at vinepair.com put this article together. So now they stay open late at night to accommodate those consumers, right, whose cravings hit after a few brews. Colombian Beer Brown found a way to hack pizza curfew and sling a few beers in the process. Two major players in this story are worldwide ad agency Doyle Dane Bernbach, DDB, the Fighting DDB, and its client, AB InBev, geez. Beer brand named Poker. So AB InBev is just a massive juggernaut in the space.
It is.
So for those unfamiliar, Poker is a 4% ABV Pilsner currently produced in Cerveceria Bavaria in Bogota, Colombia. At Cerveceria Bavaria in Bogota, Colombia.
Interesting. So are they serving up German beer in Colombia?
Yep, looks like it. With a history that dates all the way back to 1929. Okay, wait. I'll have to talk. We'll talk about it after the show.
Moving on.
Yeah, I think you already caught wind of what I was going to drop there. So anyway, when customers called in, they were greeted with a recording that acknowledged the respective pizza shop's closure, but were informed that they were in luck as their call was about to be forwarded to the Poker line. The calls were then transferred to a covert kitchen where Poker's allied pizza shop workers were hired to work overtime. Even Domino's was in the mix. The shop workers made the pizzas to order and sent them off to the drunk and hungry, always accompanied by cans of cold Poker beer. Pizza shops continued to make money after hours, and Poker made it into the hands and minds of many. Dun, dun, dun.
That's interesting.
So how did this go about? Well, in March 2018, DDB created Amigos de WhatsApp campaign, which helped boost Poker sales by 12.5% in just 2 months. Fast forward to 2023, and DDB helped Poker launch the rather clever Influencers Friends campaign, which saved the beer brand millions of dollars on potentially expensive celebrity endorsements, reached over 560 million people on social media, and bumped Poker's volume uplift by 7.4%, which is a really, really good ABV. But that's their sales.
But also the sales percentages are pretty impressive in a short period of time.
Yep. It's because it went viral and it was catchy and people really liked both the beer and the pizza. So it's hard to mess up good beer and good pizza, right?
I suppose so.
Yeah, there's a little more here at the article, so definitely follow the link through ohmTown over to VinePair. Dun dun. Because sorry, we are closed. No, we have one more article. The last article for today's non sequitur news is a spacecraft is on its way to a harmless asteroid slammed by NASA in a previous Save the Earth test. So a spacecraft
What could go wrong?
So I watched this take off today, and in classic Mayor Watt, I went to the stream for this video or for the launch 3 minutes before it actually took off. So you can watch all of these as they launch via YouTube. So just do a search and you can actually see these. The European Space Agency's Hera spacecraft rocketed away on a 2-year journey to the small harmless asteroid rammed by NASA 2 years ago in a dress rehearsal for the day a killer space rock threatens Earth. It's the second part of a planetary defense test that could one day help save the planet. But these launches, these SpaceX launches, are happening with the frequency that I think is like borderline science fiction, and I think that it's amazing, and I am here for it. I just wish that there weren't so many complexities with the non-scientific efforts. Anyway, DART's wallop sent rubble and even boulders flying off Dimorphos, providing an extra kick to the impact's momentum. The debris trail extended thousands of miles, more than 10,000 kilometers into space for months. Some boulders and other debris could still be hanging around the asteroid, posing a potential threat to Hera, said Flight Director Ignacio Tanco. Quote, we really don't know very well the environment in which we are going to operate, says Tanco, but that's the whole point of the mission, is to go there and find out. So they described the $400 million or 336 million euro mission as a crash scene investigation. Hera's going back to the crime site, getting all the scientific and technical information, and then radioing back what's going on. Hera will attempt to go into orbit around the rocky pair again, like the DART did, with the flyby distances gradually dropping from 18 miles all the way down to half a mile. The spacecraft will survey the moonlet for at least 6 months to ascertain its mass, shape, composition, as well as its orbit around Didymus.
Well, I don't know. I think we're going to see this like years down the road.
So what I love about this thing is when it was launched, it had the title. Let me remember it because I don't think it's in here exactly. It was a planetary defense test. That was the name, or
the original mission or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. Planetary defense test, because this is the follow-up of the DART project, which in and of itself was pretty damn spectacular. And then it was followed up with another one where it took samples, came back to Earth, dropped them onto Earth, and then took off before landing on Earth. It's all just amazing.
And it's not like they do it in a day, right? This was a 2-year journey. I mean, it's so planned, and seems like anything could make it fail.
Okay, kids, study your math. All right. Well, that's it for today's non sequitur news. I went from soapbox to racing through here like a Mangosteen in a NASCAR track.
Under an hour.
Yep. That's what we shoot for, like a dart. I'm full of them. All right. We're out of here. Thank you very much for coming. I am Mayor Watt and the sentient. Oh, gosh. Okay. Like a dart, we're going to fly back to the front page of ohmtown.com. And now I'm going to say see you later. Taylor Swift is now the world's richest female musician with $1.6 billion, according to Forbes.
And I think hers is made by music and not beauty lines like some other people.
Yeah, and hers, Selena Gomez, right?
Selena Gomez and Rihanna, most of their fortune is from beauty products.
Like beauty and fashion, or beauty like makeup and perfume?
Oh, like cosmetics, sorry.
Cosmetics, there we go. Okay. Which caught me off guard because they're both, at least in my regard, music and acting.
Exactly. Like that's not what they're well known for.
Oh, so I was giving a talk and I said just haphazardly, hey, you know that Selena Gomez is a billionaire and they made it from cosmetics, and people in the crowd were like, yeah, but a very select few. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Right.
Anyway, I'm Mayor Watt. Thanks for hanging out. Sentient AI is going to sign us off.
Good night, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non Sequitur News. See us tomorrow for another episode.
All right. See you then. art.